Welcome to the underground, you rebel scum. This is the American Expat. I thought I'd catch one of these lives, or do one of these lives. I'm not catching it myself. I'm the one doing it. But before we reached Monday, just for the heck of it, I mean, I've been looking at all this motivational stuff. I think it's this Jocko, the Navy SEAL guy, says you got to do things now. And, well, you know, I was up anyway, so I figured I'd take advantage of the moment and do a live stream when nobody is actually watching and talk about some pretty crazy stuff I've been seeing on the internet. If you if you get on Reddit, you'll find the craziest things. Lately, it's been pushing this subreddit called Collapse on me. I decided to join because I saw so many crazy posts in there. But you won't believe the kinds of stuff people are talking about in there. I know everybody on both sides, like if you're conservative, if you happen to be on the left, everybody's talking about collapse in some way or another. But yeah, some of the stuff I've read in this thing, I had to chuckle to myself. I thought I'd share that with you guys and see what your take is on it. Anyway, that'll be what we're talking about here coming up in just a second, so stick around. Excuse me as I take in some of this caffeine and completely destroy any sort of a sleep cycle that I may have. And before we get too far into the video, as always, I do need to encourage each of you to join in the conversation. About these topics that come up, I virtually know nothing. So do us all a favor and share your knowledge. Join in the conversation, comment, talk in the live stream, whatever it happens to be, if you happen to be getting here at the same time. And also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on these crazy live streams, which should be happening daily. I wanted to get into that before I get into this crazy Reddit business, because I've noticed, on the channel, it's like, man, nothing seems to work. It's the viewership is down all over the place. And, for a long time, it's like, oh, gosh, is that Google? Are they, like, coming after me? And it really seemed like that. But now I think I figured it out. It's what would you call it? Consistency. It's been pretty crazy as of late. I've been traveling all over the world, living at times in different parts of the world, and it got difficult to do live streams on a regular basis. Now, it's partly my fault that the channel got pushed into this little, what would you call it, category, but somehow YouTube decided that this is supposed to be a daily show, that it's supposed to come on every single day. And I think that's because I was doing that at one point in time. Every single day, Sunday through Saturday, every single day, 7 days a week, not 24 hours a day. Thank goodness this isn't the Truman Show. But that got interrupted, majorly interrupted by world travel. And now it seems that if I want this thing to do anything, I'm going to have to start doing that again, which fortunately doing a live stream is fairly easy. I mean, it's not like I have to go back and edit anything. I can just pop in here and do a live as long as the equipment is set up. So we're going to try and do that and get this back to being a daily show. And other types of content, well, I'm going to see about maybe doing a different channel or just focusing entirely on my wife's stuff because... yeah. And yes, Peter Ehinger, of course, it's just us because it happens to be midnight. We're just now into Monday, the beginning of the work week. I'm sure that most people are probably not insane enough, like myself on the East Coast anyway, to be awake at this time. Instead, they would be normally in bed, sleeping, preparing to do work the next day. But I just drank some coffee, and I have other work to do anyway, which means that regardless of what time I'm supposed to get up tomorrow, I am awake at this time. So might as well do the live stream. And I'm glad to have you here, of course. So all of that other stuff is for anyone who pops in later on or after the fact. But let me see what Martin Luther King Day. Oh my gosh. I have a story about that. When I was in school, of course, I grew up in Virginia, or I was going to school in Virginia at the time in high school, and I didn't know it, but it was Martin Luther King Day on this particular day. You know, we went to school. We didn't have it off. And I had a teacher, and he, you know, brings up that, hey, today is Lee Jackson Day. And I'm like, Lee Jackson Day, you know, and I guess that must be a Virginia thing, because I don't think anybody else would be celebrating Lee Jackson Day, as in General Lee and Jackson. Some of the schools in the place where I'm, you know, it's Virginia, so they've, of course, got schools named after them. Our rival school was Stonewall Jackson High School. So, you know, I'm going through the day, and I have no idea that it's Martin Luther King Day, and the only thing that I've been told by anyone at the school, the staff, is that it's, you know, Lee Jackson Day. And, yeah, that was a remarkable thing. I couldn't believe it. When I got home and someone told me, like, I don't know if I turned on the TV or something, but somehow it came up. You know, this was before everybody had smartphones, of course. And it's like, oh, it's Martin Luther King Day. And I'm like, what? Not only should we have been off, you know, this should have been a day off from school, but I was told it's Lee Jackson Day. That's kind of like the antithesis of the whole Martin Luther King Day thing. So that was remarkable. Of course, I think that his argument would have been that it was Lee Jackson Day first. But, you know, Martin Luther King is a little bit more important to be celebrating, I think, than Lee Jackson Day, which no one outside of Virginia has probably ever heard of. And it's the only time that I've ever heard it come up. I should look that up on the internet sometime to see if that's a real thing, or if, you know, my teacher just decided that, you know, whatever the reason was, he's going to call it Lee Jackson Day. But, yeah, funny story. Anyway, the whole Reddit thing, this is absolutely bonkers. So, like I said, this pops up on my phone all the time. If I ever get on Reddit, then I see these posts. And I haven't been part of it. And I know that sometimes Reddit will start pushing stuff if they want people to go into certain forums or something like that and start growing them. I think at one point in time they were really pushing the anti-work subreddit. Now it's this collapse thing. So anyway, I since decided to join because I was entertained enough by all of the crazy posts that people were making. I didn't want to miss out on anything. So I get this, and you know, just in addition to this, it's really gotten me thinking about some of my own beliefs. You know, like, are the things that I'm believing as crazy as this stuff, except like on the other side? I don't know. But anyway, here's a doozy. This is one that I found just before I decided I was going to do this live stream. Again, this is in the subreddit Collapse. Scientists believe the way humans have evolved may be stopping us from solving climate change. So now it is a problem of human evolution that we are incapable of actually solving climate change. It's not a matter of, you know, technology or any of that. It's simply the way that we have evolved. Somebody posted this. And, you know, they always have their comments in here. Let's see. This is from Jesus Christ Jr. Just so you get an idea of the kinds of people that are posting in this thing. I do not believe that this is the son of Jesus Christ, if you're wondering. Let's see. This has basically been my unqualified thesis for a while. The traits that were beneficial in natural selection and led to human dominance are counterproductive in a technological advanced global civilization. Our they've misspelled it. Capabilities have far outpaced our emotional maturity, and there hasn't been any reproductive survival pressure to alter our course. Our primal emotions often win out over rationality. And capitalism, oh wow, you know, here we go. We've got to throw capitalism in here somewhere. And capitalism further rewards and reinforces destructive behaviors. I suspect this is why we have not found evidence of advanced... Now we're branching outside of our own terrestrial world and into the extraterrestrial realms. Let's see. I suspect this is why we have not found any evidence of advanced extraterrestrial civilizations. If the rules of natural selection apply universally, it may be likely that all species who develop the traits that lead to being technologically advanced likely kill themselves shortly thereafter. And that's the answer of why we don't see aliens, even though we've been seeing them all over the news as of late. I guess that they follow different news somehow. They didn't hear about all the weird stuff coming out of the government and the military about alien bodies and spaceships and stuff. There's no evidence. I don't know. Maybe those aliens evolved differently. The rules of natural selection, they don't apply on this alien world that he's referring to, or other ones, because that's why they're coming here. That, or there is no evidence and the whole thing is totally made up. And whatever the reason the government is coming out with this stuff now, maybe to cover for the crazy mess that we find ourselves in with the government right now. But, Mahina Opus, good day, but I got to catch it on the replay. Hey, no problem. Glad you made it in. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got this live. Now we're past the Sunday, and we've gone into Monday. Does that count as, like, doing a live on both days? No, I'm not going to count it. I'll do another live tomorrow night, hopefully at a more regular time. I'm going to have to get back to that every single day, doing a live stream, hopefully at 10, maybe 10:30. It's got to be consistent, though. I'm going to have to figure out what time works best for myself and my son's schedule. But yeah, this is the kind of crazy stuff that I've been coming across. There's a whole string of comments that, the people just hating on the human race. It's such a bizarre thing. I think this started off people hating on America, right? I've encountered it overseas even, typically with expats, they don't care. They really don't care about anything. So when you bring up politics, it's like, please don't talk about that because, I don't want to. I left the country so I could get away from that, but they don't really care. It's not like they're one way or the other. But here in the United States, you encounter a lot of people that absolutely hate America. I started to see that before I went overseas, and it was a really bizarre thing to me to think about that. Like, why would you? I mean, I don't see a lot of Chinese people hating on China, for example. Or if I go to, I don't know, Germany, typically they're not going around hating on Germany, or Italy, Italians usually love their country. They have great coffee and great food. France, the same way. But in the United States, for some reason, people really hate on themselves. And that seems to have branched off now, and it's just hating on the entire human race. Like, we're a disease. It's like, how can you say that about your own self? That, I can't imagine that, diseases don't go around hating on themselves. What are we doing, I've never seen anything like it. I don't see, I guess, animals giving up on their will to live because they see themselves as a problem. No, they just keep on going, and nature balances itself out. But for some reason, people have taken a tendency to hate on themselves, which is really bizarre. Really bizarre. And this is a perfect example of it. 100%, we are like amoeba that they have long understood. Also, since they likely don't travel these are people that believe in the aliens. Except they think that the aliens, I guess, see us as amoeba. And they say the aliens can anticipate with our little monkey brains. They likely don't even need our resources. Wow. Yeah, this is a depressing place. I guess the Earth itself now. What are we doing? I mean, if it doesn't even matter if there are countless worlds out there. According to this person, maybe our resources aren't even that important. We should just burn through them all, as the monkeys that we are, whatever you want to call it. But this subreddit is really, really something when you start diving into it. But probably don't dive into it. It's a little bit on the crazy side. Like I said, well, no, you can, what am I saying? Of course, if you're looking for something like these people that have been talking about, the collapse, and they're all talking about climate change, and there are people like saying, do I live too close to the coast? Those are some of the ones that I see come up all the time. People talking about living too close to the ocean, or, like, oh my gosh, it's going to, like the forest is going to just spontaneously burst into flames because the temperatures are so high. It's really bizarre, and they pull up all these different things talking about, the Earth's temperature has risen to this dramatic level, and it's like, how can you say that? Global temperatures, like everywhere in the world? I mean, nobody really stops to think about that when they're talking about this climate change stuff. And I'm not saying that there's not a problem somewhere. I don't know. But how can you say that everywhere on the planet the temperature went up? Is that the case, or is it like in this one place there was a spike, and so that causes the global average to go up when actually everything is normal? I think one of my favorites is the, what do they call it, the wet bulb or something like that, wet bulb temperatures. I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's like it's so hot, but the air is so saturated with moisture that it can no longer take on any moisture. Which, by the way, if anybody watching this is curious about what that means, it means it's going to rain. And if you've lived in the South, you know that it's always like that. I'm always finding it remarkable, these people that are like clueless. I don't know if they just moved to the South, like, oh my gosh, it's so hot and humid in Florida. Global warming is real. It's like, where have you been? That's what it is. Did you move from California? Maybe that's the problem. They all came from California, and they expect it like, oh, I'm by the ocean, there should be a nice breeze, and then they get to Florida and they're suffocating like, oh my gosh, wet bulb temperatures, the global climate thing is out of control. I don't know. People freak out, especially in that subreddit, and they're all fueling each other like, oh my gosh, the world is coming to an end. I hear it on, like I said, on both sides. It's like every time you turn around, the world is coming to an end. I mean, the currency is going to collapse. I think I've talked about that numerous times. Before I went back to living outside of the United States briefly, which who knows when that's going to happen again, I was caught up in it too. You get on the internet here and social media, and it just drives you insane with all kinds of scenarios that are, coming along like World War III, Civil War, and maybe these things will happen. There's a lot of conflict happening in the world, and there's a lot of trouble here at home. But my goodness, don't you remember? It was nice back when we didn't feel like that, like the world wasn't coming to an end. And I'd sure like things to go back to that. Just for that reason. Can't wait to be done with this election that's coming up. I'd like to see where it goes. I'd love to see things go back to normal. Just shut it down. No more of this craziness. We're not removing people from the ballot. I've seen it on both sides now. You've got them trying to remove Donald Trump, and other people are trying to. And by the way, if you happen to be Republicans or conservative or whatever in whatever state, there's no reason to remove Joe Biden from the ballot. I've got to tell you that right now. This guy, I don't even think he's going to make it. There's been some pretty high-level people in the country, in the banking world, that have actually come out and said Joe Biden's going to have a health emergency and he's going to drop out. I don't know who they're going to put in his place, but removing him from the ballot is pointless because they're just going to put somebody else in there anyway, very likely, I should say. And, Donald Trump, I don't think that he's going to be actually removed from the ballot. I know that right now they're stirred up all kinds of trouble, but I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court will come in and say, no, you can't do that. You can't do that, and it'll backfire on these people that are trying to remove him from the ballot because that just makes people look at him like they're crazy. This isn't the United States of America anymore. Now we're living in some crazy world where we just remove the person that we don't want to get in from the ballot, even though that's supposed to be done by voting. They always talk about being the popular candidate. It's like, well, if that's the case, then just take it to the ballot and let people vote the way they're going to vote. If you're so confident, that, I guess with Joe Biden, they're not so confident. They don't even know what he's going to do. He's always on there. I keep going back to this when Xi Jinping came from China to visit, and he's in there, and Biden's people are on one side of the table, and he's over there, and he's giving this impassioned speech about, the United States and China need to work together, and we have to have communication. And it comes time for Joe Biden, and he's like blanks out, and the people around him take over really quick, and they take him out of the room. And it's like you see the Chinese people looking around like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? What are we dealing with? This guy's out of it. Who's actually running the show? I guess that's pretty evident with the Lloyd Austin thing where he was in the hospital and never bothered to tell Donald Trump. I know a lot of people are upset. It's like, no, this just means that somebody else is running the country and nobody cares to inform Joe Biden because he's not the one making the decisions. which means that someone who is not elected president is making the decisions that the president is supposed to make, which is, I would think, criminal, absolutely against the law, but I don't know how we're ever going to know about that. What a crazy world we live in, that any of this would be happening, but it is happening. And we have all these crazy people on the internet that are going nuts and think that the world really is coming to an end, and that if they're on the coast, I guess their home is going to be underwater, or if they're in the south, then the wet bulb temperatures are going to cause them to spontaneously. I don't know what happens in that case. I guess you just if you don't have air conditioning, which most people these days have air conditioning. What does that do to you? You just get humidified? I don't know. The opposite of dehydrated. You get so humidified that you're just soaked all the time. Maybe you get like trench foot or something from that. I don't know. I guess they're afraid that they're going to get too hot and they're going to get heat stroke, because then, when you sweat, it's like the sweat doesn't evaporate off of you. And that's just how it is in the South, though. I mean, if anybody watching this is talking about these wet bulb temperatures and they're concerned about it, that's how it is in the South. When you sweat, that's one of the things that makes it so miserable being in a humid climate. You sweat and it doesn't evaporate. It just doesn't work. I don't know where people came from, but it must have been a somewhat drier climate, because the way we're designed to regulate heat, it doesn't work very well in these humid climates. And yet, some of my favorite places in the entire world are very, very humid places. They're miserable, but you go there and it's so humid that you just give up on it. You're going to be sweating. It's going to be that way. So you just give up and you just put on a Hawaiian shirt and enjoy life. Hong Kong is such a place. Fujian province in China, and of course Hawaii, which is a wonderful place to be. Now let me see. Yes, this has been quite the live stream. I guess I can go for we'll make it to 30 minutes and then we'll call it quits. Like I said, I didn't expect anybody to be on here. I'm glad that a couple people have made it into the live stream at this crazy hour. But yeah, I'm going to follow this stuff about staying motivated and doing what you're supposed to do. And I'm going to do a live stream come hell or high water every single day. Just like what YouTube set me up to be, for some reason, I guess. Even though I was originally just making videos documenting my life. Vlog? I guess that's a vlog. I guess I was doing the vlog thing. And then somehow I got pushed into this, whatever this is, these kinds of live streams. Let's see, oh man, the perils of plastic packaging. Now I've heard this a lot. This is something that I have heard in the news that has had me thinking about plastics. They keep talking about forever chemicals and these plastic particles that have gotten into everything, I guess. It's in our food, it's everywhere. Maybe it would be a good idea to go back to glass. I don't know. Why did they I guess because it was cheap, right? We switched over to plastic bottles because it was cheaper than doing glass, maybe? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing. Drinking something out of a plastic bottle, it always tastes terrible. Same thing if you get the aluminum can. It gives it a taste that's not very good. Versus if you get it in a glass bottle, it always tastes better. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason is behind it, but I can tell you from working at a beverage company years and years ago, you can tell the difference. Now, there are different kinds of aluminum cans. The regular ones that you get, those are the ones where the drink doesn't taste as good, versus if you have it in a glass bottle. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's those plastic particles. We're all saturated with it, and it's probably the reason, in this case, they're probably talking about that being the end of the world. These plastic particles that are in everything. Maybe that's why the bees are stopped. I don't know, according to them. Let's see. Yep, they're talking about birds drop from trees in extreme 45 degrees Celsius Australian heat amid sweltering 4-week heat wave. Yes, heat waves come and go. We have very strange weather patterns that come and go. El Nino is a perfect example. People are talking about the jet stream being all goofed up. And it's like, well, every once in a while we get these El Nino things. And I don't know enough about weather to really comment too much about it. But, yeah, It's crazy. Hey, Peter Ehinger, glad that you made it over here. Have a good night. And I guess we'll see you on the next one, maybe, if you make it to it. Otherwise, I'm going to be going for just a few more minutes here. You see we've got, we're to 25 minutes, 27 seconds. I'm not sure how much of that is actually me talking, because the beginning I was having trouble with some of the technical stuff there. I think most of that is me talking. But anyway, when it gets to 30 minutes, we're going to cut it out, and it should be, good enough for this impromptu live stream that we're doing here. Which, by the way, if you're here or if you catch it after the fact, don't forget to leave your comments. Leave your 2 cents. I, again, am not an expert in any of this stuff, obviously. So if you know something about some, like the scenarios that we were talking about here with the climate change situation and people thinking it's the end of the world, if you know that I'm wrong, or if you believe that I'm right, or have information that I do not have, make sure you leave your comments there about any of this stuff, because that's important. I'm not knowledgeable about all of this stuff. I'm learning it as all of you are learning it most of the time, or well after you guys have learned it. When I was in China, nobody cared about climate change over there. I mean, lately, as I've been back in China, I've seen things talking about green this and green that. But no, there's no, they've got all these electric cars driving around. And I know what happens. Like when they're done with the battery, they just dump it into the ground. It's not like they're doing some special recycling process. So whatever chemicals are in there, they're dumping it in the environment anyway. And who knows what they're doing, when they're actually making these things. I'm sure that there's all kinds of noxious chemicals being spewed into the environment, up into the air. They've got the super stacks that are, putting it way up there into the atmosphere that blows it off over to California or wherever. And we all get to deal with it anyway. So, yeah, all those electric cars, they're pretty neat, though. I rode in fact, I think almost every single taxi in China is now an electric car. Certainly if you get in their equivalent of like, Uber, they call it Didi over there. Everything's electric. You get in there, it's an electric car. I don't know what they do. I guess they have charging stations all over the place. I wonder how long a charge lasts. If you're going to do that as a taxi or a ride share thing, I wonder how long the charge actually lasts. Is it, with city driving, I know with a car, it's like, well, if you're in the city, then, your gas mileage gets lower. Is that the case with an electric car too? Maybe it is. I would think that it just depends on how much load you're putting on the thing. In some of those places, like you get into Chengdu, the heat and the humidity, boy, I bet there are some of those wet bulb temperatures over there in Chengdu. You got to have the AC, otherwise you're done. You're not going to make it. I don't know what the pandas do, because they don't even sweat. The pandas. So I don't know what they do when they get these wet bulb temperatures. I guess they just, actually I do know what they do in the preserve. I don't know about in the wild, but in the preserve, they just go into the building and where they have air conditioning. So the pandas, if you ever go to visit the Panda Research Center there in Chengdu, the pandas have air conditioning. You don't. If you're there, you're like out in the super humid heat and dying, but the pandas, they just go inside. They have some that supposedly can respond to their name, and all of this stuff. So people in China, they're like huge fans of these animals, and they go there to try and see them. And on many days, you'll get in the line, and by the time you actually get to where the panda lives, it's gone inside to be in the air conditioning. And they're like, well, the famous panda has gone away to the air conditioning. So you just wasted hours in line in this horrible heat so that you could miss out on the panda that responds to its name. Yeah, that's the way that it works over there. Anyway, we're reaching the 30-minute mark, which is actually probably a little bit longer because there's a little bit of a delay when with my talking and what happens on the live stream. But again, I want to say, if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future crazy live streams and whatever else I happen to decide to upload here. And again, comment and all of that. Oh, hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to do that. Where did that one go? Where is she at? I know she's in here somewhere. Oh, where did she go? I can't find it now. For some reason, oh, there she is. There she is. Yeah, hit the like button. Or if you don't like it, you can always hit the thumbs down thing. I don't mind. Any interaction, I'll take it. And with that, I guess we'll go ahead and end the show. Thanks for coming in. We'll see you guys in the next one. ไฟพะวงหลงเฝ้าสาวเจ้าบางปะกงทางห้วยงงหลงเกอหาโอเวรกรรมจำพราก